So I don't know about you, but in my influencer business, the last few months of the year are typically the busiest. Between trying to get business goals that I set for myself back in January across the finish line, to an increase in client work because of holiday shopping and brand partnerships that come through, and, just generally trying to tie up all of the loose ends by the end of the year, Q4 can be a little overwhelming. That is why I'm choosing to be extra proactive this year to specifically take some time to plan for Q4 so that I can go into these last few months with confidence and not chaos. So I'm going to share my screen and take you inside my Notion hub to show you exactly how I'm planning for the last few months of the year in my influencer business. By creating this plan now, I'm hoping that last week of December, Austen will be thanking me. And I've also created a free Q4 checklist for all of you that you can download from the link down below in the description box if you also want to plan and prep for these last few months of the year. With that being said, let's open up my Notion. Welcome back to my Notion hub. I know some of you have been here before, so before I jump into my Q4 goals and action items, I feel like it's a good idea to check in on my yearly overall goals. I have some things to update here. Oh my gosh, I still need to list stuff from our wedding last year on Facebook Marketplace. Have not started that yet, but I do have an update for my digital products. I wanted to create my Notion template, which is actually this goals and planning hub that I'm in right now. So I launched this as a product earlier this year. So you can actually buy this 2024 goals and planning template on my website if you'd like. Anyway, I launched that template and I also launched a rate sheet. I didn't actually talk about this anywhere, but I did just upload the rate sheet product to my website as well. So that will also be linked down below in case you want to check it out. That was a big Q3 goal checked off. If you guys watched my video about the seasonality of business, you know that I talked about Q3 being more of a quiet time for me in general, which I would say pretty much turned out to be true in 2024 as well. So that's a great chance for me to look inward, work on some of my digital products and my own business needs. So I'm super happy about that. This one here, hire website designer and SEO expert, move blog to WordPress. We're going to keep that one in progress right now. I did hire an SEO expert, but I do want to look into getting a quote to move my blog over to WordPress and also to redesign it, like to have a brand new design and homepage. So whatever that might be, I basically need to look into that soon. So that is probably going to bleed into the fourth quarter a little bit, which is fine. And then over here, launch my Etsy shop with wedding templates and resources. My shop is launched. It is called The Bold Bride. It's linked in my link in bio if you guys want to check it out. I will also link it down in the description here. I am planning to do a whole YouTube video talking about why I chose to launch an Etsy shop, why it is pretty separate from the rest of my business, and what my first month on Etsy looked like. I need to get a new business bank account. That's a long, boring story, but something I'm going to deal with next quarter. Hiring a virtual assistant. I think I've concluded that the biggest thing a virtual assistant could probably help me with right now is all things podcast related. I want to make a list of exactly what I think a virtual assistant could help me with each week for the podcast and kind of just get a sense of what the workload would be and kind of time myself doing the workload so I have a general understanding of how many hours a week I would need a virtual assistant and then approximately like what the pay would be. So I do think that having a virtual assistant for that specific area of my business would probably be the move. So even though I'm not making money from the podcast yet, it's something I'm seriously considering putting some money into to free up my time. Okay, now if it looks like we have a ton of things to do in Q4, this is a little bit deceptive just because some of these are kind of ongoing yearly goals. These two personal goals, reading 20 books and maintaining a weekly workout schedule, these are all in progress. These are things that I have been working towards all year, and it's not like I'm just in October like, okay, I want to read 20 books this year. So that's why these are in progress over here too. This is kind of like a networking goal that I had, which is coffee content date with a fellow creator / industry friend every month. So I am all filled in for that up through August. Grow to 150,000 audience across platforms. This was sort of a stretch goal for me just based on the cadence that I've been growing year over year. I think I'm actually just about to hit the 100,000 follower milestone across all platforms, which is still really exciting. And I just like to have goals like this on here too, to make sure that I'm staying motivated and that I'm working on growing. And then, of course, staying consistent with weekly long-form content. That has been a year-long goal as well. So I'm excited to look back at the end of the year and see how often I was able to hit my weekly targets for publishing that content. Now that I've checked in on my overall goals for the year, I want to dump in some Q4 action items to this table. So I just made a new page in Notion. You can do this yourself and make a table page. And I added a column for the task, the status, the priority, and the energy it will require of me, because I think that dumping my ideas this way is going to give me a good idea of how many of these tasks I can accomplish in a given week or a given month. And I can also kind of brain dump all of my tasks here and then eliminate any that I don't think are that well thought through or that maybe I can accomplish really quickly. So I wrote down some things from a Q4 planning call that I had with my friend Caitlin, who I'm sure you guys know. I basically just made notes on 5 key sections of my business and things that I want to do in Q4 to move them forward. So let's start out with number 1, which is related to my Etsy shop. I want to create some Wedding Wednesday content for my Instagram and TikTok to promote some of the new digital products in my Etsy shop. So I'm going to say that that is not started yet. I would say that's like somewhat urgent, and that is probably going to require medium energy for me to make the content calendar. I'm obviously also going to need to pick some days to record that content, which will be more of a high energy activity for me. I also want to do some podcast episodes because our 1-year anniversary is coming up. So I want to do one that is more about just the story of our wedding day, because it was quite a day. And I feel like it would be fun to do on the podcast in honor of our anniversary. And I also wanted to do a wedding tips episode too. And that is also going to tie in with some of my new Etsy shop products, talking about how I stayed organized and how I was able to make some important decisions for our wedding day with the products that I created. And then I also want to launch 2 more products by the end of the year for the Etsy shop. I just added one more section here as I was going called section. I think this will be helpful just for me to identify which part of my business this is related to as I'm reading through these. Okay, so that's everything on the Etsy front. Next, I have a few things on my education income stream that I want to figure out in Q4. Number 1 is figuring out if I am moving my course to Evergreen. I think this is somewhat urgent because I would definitely like to relaunch the course at the start of next year. If I could relaunch it sooner, I would also consider doing that. I don't want to bite off more than I can chew before the end of the year, though, so we'll see what happens. But basically, for this decision, I just want to watch Amy Porterfield. I took her Digital Course Academy last year, and there's a whole section in there about moving your course from live launches to Evergreen. So that would mean it would be available for you guys to buy at any time. You wouldn't have to wait for me to be live launching the program, because right now you can't access it. So she has a whole module about what moving to Evergreen looks like that I just need to watch and take notes. So that'll be low energy for me. Another thing I need to do related to that is look into Squarespace courses versus Thinkific. I think that this is not super urgent and won't require a ton of energy from me. I just would like to keep things as central as possible and be paying for as few various different platforms as possible. And you can host courses now. That's where horse came from, because I was trying to say host and course at the same time. You can host courses now on Squarespace. So if I can move the Influencer Income Accelerator to austentosone.com and give people a login through that instead of paying separately for Thinkific, I think I would rather do that. So I just need to look into the functionality to make sure that everything I currently have on Thinkific can be replicated on Squarespace, and I would need to communicate the change to my existing students if I make it. So I also just added make updates to content. I like to look through the content each time before I relaunch to make sure everything is up to date in terms of information. And I might also look into adding some new bonuses, because if I do move the course to Evergreen, that kind of negates the weekly Q&A sessions that I had been doing during the live launch periods. Basically, I would just need to swap out that live existing bonus that would require me showing up every week right after the program launched to something that more suits the Evergreen model. Just dropped in my podcast activities for the end of the year, so I want to stay consistent with publishing weekly episodes from now through the end of the year. I probably will take the last week of the year off. And like I said, when reviewing my goals, I want to start to document exactly what I do each week, so that if I do have to outsource to a VA, or I can outsource to a VA some of these things, that there is a record of exactly what I do to promote and publish the episodes each week. I would say those are both like high energy activities, and staying consistent with the podcast is definitely the most important thing right now. Okay, 2 things blog related is I want to plan my content through the end of the year. This will also include holiday posts that I usually do. So I usually do a Cyber Weekend sale roundup, and I usually publish a gift guide of some kind. If I'm not publishing a gift guide blog post, I will be updating the holiday section of my blog with lots of little shoppable collages that I basically make on LTK and share on that section. To me, this is really important to make sure I am maintaining and growing my monthly blog traffic so that I can hopefully increase my ad revenue. So I would ideally like to publish at least 10 blog posts, which would be a little less than 1 a week if we're looking at Q4. And I want to make a list of exactly what that content will look like. And I also have to install new ad code on my blog in October. I am actually switching the ad network that I'm on for my blog. So I have been with She Media for 3 years, but I decided to switch to Journey by Mediavine just because I have heard from multiple people that the RPMs, or revenue per 1,000 visitors to the blog, is much higher than that of She Media. Not to mention that once my blog cracks the 50,000 monthly sessions threshold, I will have a much easier time just switching over to Mediavine's regular ad network from Journey. So I have nothing but good things to say about She Media. I just can't dispute the fact that the RPMs are better, and Mediavine is basically like one of the top companies in the game with ad revenue. So my She Media contract is up at the end of October. So when that time comes, I'm going to remove their code from my blog and install the Journey code. So not urgent, nothing I can do about that right now. And it should be a relatively quick switch. And then for YouTube, I want to plan my content through the end of the year now. I also like to publish a lot of goal-setting content and year-long planning content on YouTube, but usually my content goes up in January. I'd really like to get a lot of that content up in December of this year instead, because I feel like then it's there when people are, hanging out the last week of the year, hopefully taking some time off of work, searching for making a vision board or searching for how to have the best 2024 yet as an influencer. Like, I want that content to be up already in December so that if people are searching for it in December planning for January, it's already there, versus me publishing a video January 2nd when everyone's already made a vision board or has already started their goal planning. That's just kind of something I've been thinking about from more of an SEO standpoint, and I just want to be proactive about that, which is why I'm doing this now. So these are a list of my biggest Q4 action items, but since I've been talking so much about what content I want to create for my long-form platforms, I am going to do a content brain dump where I actually just list as many ideas as I can for all of these different platforms. So if you guys watched my SEO video from a few weeks ago, the 10 steps for setting up SEO correctly on your blog, I will link that one if you haven't seen it yet. We actually did this blog post content brainstorm together based on me doubling down on my most popular blog posts. So these are the titles of the most popular blog posts, and underneath I tried to come up with 3 ideas for each post. I actually have already written 5 of these since we last got together, so all of these posts are now live up on my blog, but I definitely want to pull a few more from this list for the end of the year. Okay, so I just pulled 4 ideas from that list that I definitely want to include, and those, again, are based on blog posts that are already performing well for me. I also have this spreadsheet of other blog post topic ideas that I wrote that I feel like I can rank for and I feel like fit in with my content. So I think I want to do a little mix here. I tried to do a mix of like fashion, beauty, content creation. I think I'm going to pull what to wear with black jeans, brunch outfits, and what order to apply skincare products. Okay, so I'm going to stop there and just see. Okay, so here I have 8 different blog post ideas, which if I wanted to publish 10 by the end of the year, the fact that I have 8 already is great. And then I'm going to add in Cyber Weekend deals and a 2024 gift guide. And if for any reason something else comes up during this time, I could always bump something from this list. Again, a lot of these ideas are pretty evergreen, but there we go. Now I think I have my 10 blog posts that I want to write by the end of the year. Let me fill in some stuff for YouTube and the podcast, and then I'll come back and explain what I wrote. Okay, so I just filled in this content dump for the rest of the year. Can I just say I'm feeling so much better already? So obviously there are some things that are more filled in than others. Like right now, I only have 2 video ideas listed for November for YouTube, but that's also just because sometimes I like to throw in a vlog to show you guys more of my day-to-day life. Sometimes things come up just in the comments of my YouTube videos. Like, for example, I am going to be filming this video about the downsides of going viral based on some comments you guys left on my recent video called The Case for Slow Growth. There were some comments that led me to another topic that I hadn't even been thinking of, so I want to get that video up sometime in October. I feel like it would be good to do like an LTK profile review ahead of holiday season to help people get their affiliates on track. I want to do a 6-month podcast update. And then these are the videos that I am thinking about releasing in December. My 2024 reset. I did this last year and you guys really seemed to love it. I also got a lot of traction on shorts that I made about creating a vision board. So I think that might be the primary focus of that episode of that video, that episode of the Austen show, obviously. And then same thing for the podcast here. I went through a list that I had of content ideas and I basically just slotted some in. Again, I think the podcast is my chance to catch up with you guys in a more informal way. So that might change depending on what's going on, but I definitely want to do my wedding planning tips episode like I was saying. It turns out the other wedding episode will probably be the last week of September, so that's why it's not listed here. I really want to do my official Taylor Swift album rankings. That one's just going to take a lot of preparation, so I put it in November. I really want to do an episode all about Hoboken. I feel like that is basically my personality at this point. And then I feel like a few end-of-year recap episodes, like what I read this year. I was thinking about maybe doing that for YouTube, but I've been reading a lot more fiction this year, so I feel like it would be better to do in the podcast. And kind of just a fun, like, best of 2024 recap. And then for January on YouTube, sorry to flip back and forth, but yeah, so podcast here, YouTube here. For YouTube, as you guys know, at the beginning of each year, I like to do my income breakdown from the previous year, but I'm not going to be able to do that until January 1st, because then I will have all of the information from 2024 to share with you. I would love to get that video out in December in an ideal world, but it's not going to happen because the year won't be over, so I won't know my exact quarterly breakdown. I have had someone purchase one of my digital products like an hour before midnight on New Year's Eve before, so that is why I wait to do that video until January. But yeah, so I feel a lot better even just knowing that I have this list here ready to go. And I'm actually going to head back to this Q4 action items list. And I'm going to change this to in progress. And I'm also going to change this to in progress because I have just started the process of planning out that content. For priority, I just went ahead and sorted this also by what is the most urgent. So I can base my actions next based on which things are going to be most urgent, and then I can slot things in over the next few weeks based on, oh, this is going to be a high energy thing. I should make sure that I set aside a lot of time for that this week, or, oh, there's a low energy thing that maybe I can throw in if I have an hour or two of free time. So now you have a look at what content basically to expect from me for the rest of the year, and also how I'm going to be prioritizing my time as we head into Q4. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me and planning my Q4 with me today. It always feels much better when we do these things together, and I want to help you plan for Q4 as well. So like I said, don't forget to grab that Q4 planning checklist from the link down below in the description box. Leave a comment down below to let me know what you're working on for Q4, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Now, you know I love showing you guys the behind the scenes of my influencer business, including when things maybe need to change. So if you're interested in hearing more about why I shut down an income stream in my business earlier this year, be sure to check out the up next recommendation on the screen. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.